Okay. And real quick, put it back up. Now that she gone, hold on for a second. Let me call Paul. Let me hit Carlos. Hey, Carlos. It's Carlos King. Carlos. So now that she gone, can we get Ariane on the show now? Mm-hmm. Can we do that? Can we please now get Ariane on the show? We need that. That is going to really set it off, okay? Because I know you wouldn't let her on the show because of your allegiance and alliance to Melody, because y'all developed this show together. But now that she's gone, we need somebody else that's gonna keep it spicy, okay? And Yapper, Coleslaw will do that, okay? And so we need that down. Hit me back. We just sent it to Carlos. Here we did, okay?
Imagine thinking you broke someone, only to watch them glow up in ways you never expected. That's the part nobody talks about. When Love and Marriage Huntsville first introduced us to Melody Shari and Martell Holt, they looked untouchable. Beautiful home, 4 children, real estate empire, Black excellence on display. From the outside, they were the blueprint. But behind the filtered photos and perfectly staged confessionals, something was cracking. And when that crack finally split wide open, it didn't just expose an affair, it exposed pride, ego, control, and the dangerous belief that one person can tear another down and still win. What nobody expected was this. The woman who was supposed to be destroyed by divorce ended up rising, and the man who thought he could replace her, his life began to unravel in ways no one saw coming. Melody wasn't just a reality star. Before the cameras ever rolled, she was a college-educated, driven woman from Alabama who believed in building something solid. She met Martell young. They weren't Hollywood, they weren't industry plants, they were regular people with big dreams. Together, they built Holt & Holt Entrepreneurship, real estate deals, property flips, construction projects. They sold the image of a power couple because at first it felt real. Melody handled the branding, the business structure, the marketing. She wasn't just the wife, she was the backbone in many ways. Friends say she was organized, focused, always thinking 5 steps ahead. When Love and Marriage Huntsville came knocking, it seemed like the perfect opportunity, a show centered around Black couples building wealth that aligned with everything they claimed to stand for. At the beginning, viewers loved them. Melody was polished but warm. Martell was charming but confident, maybe too confident. But here's the twist. Confidence can turn into arrogance when accountability disappears. Rumors of Martell's infidelity didn't start on camera. They started in whispers, late nights, strange behavior, long phone calls. Melody later admitted she felt something was off long before the public ever knew. Still, she tried to hold it together, for her children, for her brand, for the image. Because sometimes when you've built something with someone for over a decade, you don't just walk away, you fight for it. But what happens when you're the only one fighting? When Martell's long-term affair finally became public, it wasn't just a cheating scandal, it was humiliation on a national stage. The woman he was involved with wasn't a quick mistake, it was a relationship that lasted years. Years. Imagine filming scenes about marriage goals while your husband is secretly building another life. Viewers watched Melody sit at tables, confront him, cry, breathe deeply, try to stay composed. But what cameras couldn't fully capture was the mental warfare happening at home. Martell didn't just apologize. At times, he justified, he minimized, he blamed. He suggested Melody wasn't affectionate enough, that she was too focused on business, that she didn't give him enough attention. And that's when something shifted, because Melody stopped begging. She started listening, not to him, but to herself. The divorce wasn't sudden, it was layered with back-and-forth attempts at reconciliation, therapy sessions, emotional talks, promises that didn't stick. But once Melody made her final decision, she didn't look back, and that's when the real unraveling began. At first, Martell seemed confident he would land on his feet. He gave interviews, he spoke like a man who believed he was still the prize. He hinted that Melody would regret leaving. He assumed the public would move on. But the internet doesn't forget, and audiences are more perceptive than people think. While Melody focused on rebuilding, Martell's reputation started taking hit after hit. Social media dragged him. Old clips resurfaced. Times he dismissed her achievements. Times he laughed while she looked hurt. The narrative flipped. Suddenly, he wasn't the charming husband. He was the man who gambled his empire for ego.
Then came legal issues. Headlines about custody disputes, business complications, questions about licensing in his construction career. Each new problem stacked on top of the last. Meanwhile, Melody was leveling up quietly. She launched 7th Avenue Premier Skincare, and this wasn't just a vanity project. She marketed it strategically. She used her platform wisely. She connected emotionally with her audience. Women didn't just buy products, they bought into her resilience. Her Instagram lives became safe spaces. She talked about co-parenting, healing, setting boundaries. She didn't scream revenge, she spoke about growth. And that contrast was powerful. While Martell appeared defensive in interviews, Melody appeared grounded. But here's what really shook people. She didn't fall apart publicly. Yes, she cried. Yes, she had vulnerable moments, but she refused to let heartbreak define her identity. She stepped back into real estate education. She began teaching masterclasses. She positioned herself not as someone abandoned, but as someone liberated. And the more she glowed, the more Martell seemed frustrated. There were subtle jabs online, cryptic posts, interviews where he downplayed her success, moments that felt like he couldn't stand seeing her thrive without him. Because here's the truth no one says out loud. Some people don't miss you. They miss controlling you. When Melody stopped reacting emotionally, it removed his power. Co-parenting became tense, public disagreements surfaced, fans picked sides, and overwhelmingly, many sided with her. Martell tried to rebrand. He appeared on other reality shows. He attempted to show vulnerability. He spoke about mistakes. But timing matters, and accountability delayed can look like manipulation. Meanwhile, Melody's brand expanded. She wasn't just the ex-wife. She was an entrepreneur, a speaker, a mother who refused to let chaos swallow her peace. What nobody expected was how quickly the financial and personal consequences stacked for Martell. Legal battles cost money. Reputation damage affects partnerships. Public trust isn't easy to repair. And slowly, the image of the once untouchable husband faded. But this story isn't about revenge. It's about alignment, because when one person in a relationship grows and the other resists growth, the split becomes inevitable. Melody's glow-up wasn't loud at first. It was steady, calculated, intentional. She protected her children fiercely. She limited what she shared about them. She focused on creating stability. And that maturity made Martell's public outbursts look even more chaotic in comparison. There were moments when fans wondered, would they ever reconcile? But Melody's energy said something different. She wasn't angry anymore. She was done. And being done is more powerful than being mad. Emotionally, the impact was deep. You don't walk away from a 12-year marriage without scars. There were nights she admitted feeling betrayed beyond words, not just by him, but by the version of her life she thought was secure. Her children had to adjust to 2 homes. Holidays looked different. Family photos changed. But instead of hiding the pain, she reframed it. She told women, sometimes the breakup is the breakthrough. Her daughters watched her rebuild. Her sons watched her set boundaries. That kind of modeling matters. Career-wise, the divorce ironically amplified her reach. People who never watched Love and Marriage Huntsville began following her story. Brands saw her influence. Speaking invitations increased. Pain became platform. And for Martell, the unraveling wasn't just financial or reputational, it was relational. Friendships shifted, public perception hardened, and no matter how much he tried to explain, one reality remained. He lost the woman who helped build the foundation. Now here's the part that hits the hardest.
Success after heartbreak is loud, but regret is silent. We don't know what Martell thinks when he sees Melody thriving. We don't know what goes through his mind when business ventures stall while hers expand. But we do know this: the woman he once underestimated became the headline. Melody Shari didn't just survive humiliation. She transformed it. She proved that being left, cheated on, or embarrassed does not mean being defeated. And that's why her story resonates so deeply. Because so many women have been told to shrink, to stay, to forgive endlessly, to protect a man's image at the cost of their own peace. Melody chose differently. She chose herself, and in doing so, she changed the entire narrative. Today, when people look at her, they don't just see a reality star. They see discipline, strategy, emotional intelligence. They see a woman who refused to crumble under pressure. And when they look at Martell, they see a cautionary tale about ego, impulsiveness, and underestimating your partner's worth. Life has a funny way of balancing scales. Sometimes the person who thought they were winning loses everything that truly mattered. And the person who cried in silence, they rise. So the real question isn't whether Melody leveled up. She did. The real question is this: when you break someone who was building with you, are you prepared to watch them build even bigger without you? Because that might be the hardest consequence of all. And if this chapter taught us anything, it's this: never mistake someone's grace for weakness, never confuse patience with dependency, and never assume the woman you tried to humble won't come back stronger than ever. Melody Shari didn't just level up, she rewrote the ending. And Martell, he's still living with the plot twist.